Hello, I'm Michael Chigani, and this is Straight Talk. With me today is Alan Zeman. Alan Zeman, a familiar face and chairman of Lan Kwai Fong Holdings. Now, we've had so many things happening in the past few weeks.
Yes, we have.
Disqualification of candidates for the legislative election. Yes. Then we had the cancellation of the elections as well. And we've got this virus outbreak that's obviously affecting you a lot, right? I mean,
well, the whole world.
The whole world, but in your business as well, the bars and restaurant business, catering industry. Now, before we start, let's have a look at a bite.
When the national security law was passed, I said that one country, two system is finished. Make no mistake about it. And I think today we are seeing the results.
Beyond any doubt, it's the most scandalous election fraud ever in Hong Kong history.
This is a very difficult decision for me and the Executive Council. This decision is made purely on the basis of the public health concerns.
Now, you saw Dennis Kwok from the Civic Party. He was disqualified as a candidate. Then you saw Joshua Wong. He was criticizing the cancellation, the delay of the legislative elections. Then you saw Carrie Lam, who said that it was not a political decision. It was purely based on health grounds. But Ellen, does it send a good message to the world that you cancel an election?
Obviously, we're in the midst of a virus that's worldwide, killing a lot of people, more than anybody dreamed, and no one knows when the end of it is. Hong Kong was doing very well the first 2 quarters, and suddenly the virus spiked again, as it did everywhere in the US, in Australia, everywhere. And so we're now facing a number of things. Dennis Kwok, who I've known for a long time, and you've known as well, you know, this disqualification and the security law that was brought in by China, he's one of the culprits for them doing this. I mean, the way he acted in LegCo for 17 different meetings when they were trying to elect a chairwoman, a chairlady or a chairman, by filibustering everything and stopping everything, really almost shutting down that process of LegCo. That was one thing. Then he and the other 3 people who went to the US to posture to the government, the US government, about Hong Kong and about how unfair Hong Kong is. No one likes to wash their dirty laundry in public. And
so you think the disqualification was right?
I think the disqualification was absolutely right. I think at the end of the day, China looking at it, thinking, who are these guys? It's like America sending 4 people over to China to complain about what's going on, the mess that's going on in the US. So it's the same thing, Michael. You've got to understand, we have to act in a very civilized manner. Hong Kong never did this before. We were never like that before. And then suddenly you have these activists that have suddenly taken matters into their own hands and have a belief in their mind, and I respect all opinions, but keep it at home.
But then the thing is, why disqualify them when you're going to cancel the elections anyway?
I think the fact that the cancellation for, well, it's a postponement of the election. I think that they had no choice. You can see even in the United States, the glorified United States, where the president now, Donald Trump, is talking about.
Well, he's taken that back.
Well, he has no choice because it's not a law in the United States. You can't do that.
Do it.
I understand, but I'm just saying, at this time, people to vote, people need to be able to come out properly. Political leaders need to be able to go out and canvass for support.
No, what I meant
and they can't do that right now.
What I meant was, why disqualify 12 or whatever number of people, so many people, when you're going to cancel the elections anyway?
I think it was disqualified first. I think
yeah,
before,
it was one day.
I think beforehand. I don't personally. I don't think there was. It was thought in that respect. I mean, it might look that way, but I think that in general, China had enough of the 12 candidates that were, the antics that the 12 candidates, why they were suspended. And I think that there was no choice. I mean,
well, now there's suggestions being put out by Tam Yu-jung and others that the disqualified members of LegCo, when there's a provisional LegCo, temporary LegCo, that they shouldn't be sitting there. Now,
I've seen that.
What happens then, Ellen, is the world gets the impression that you're going to disqualify people, and then you're left with a rubber-stamped LegCo staffed by pro-establishment figures. Is that good for our global image?
At the moment, the world is looking upon Hong Kong because of the security law. And you've seen what's happened with the extradition treaties with many of the countries. And so they're looking at it's not really against Hong Kong, it's against China at the end of the day. They just think by hurting Hong Kong, they're going to hurt China. Right now, China's the big bad wolf, unjustly so, but politically around the world, people are looking at China and thinking that by doing this to Hong Kong, this is going to hurt China. Honestly, I believe that at the end of the day, Hong Kong has to defend itself, number one. China has to defend Hong Kong. These people that have been disqualified actually committed things that they shouldn't have done, and you don't see that in other countries. And I think that if this happened in any other country, you'd have a similar problem.
One of those that was a LegCo member that was disqualified. He did join the trip.
Kenneth.
He didn't come back and say he supported sanctions, but he didn't say he didn't support it, and for that he was disqualified.
By joining a trip, when you go abroad, and it's going to be publicized around the world.
But people like Regina Yip also goes. I mean, she went.
Yes, but you're not bad-mouthing Hong Kong. If you have a problem, keep it here. You don't bad-mouth Hong Kong. And they're used. You think the U.S., those congressmen or senators even care about Hong Kong? Many have never even been to Hong Kong. All they care about is that it's a political thing, that they can take Joshua Wong or take any of the other people that have been there, and really Jimmy Lai is able to go and have a meeting with Mike Pence, and not Mike Pence, with Mike Pence,
exactly. The others meant
and I meant to say Mike Pompeo. That was in the UK, but not Jimmy Lai. But I just think at the end of the day, keep going around to different parts of the world and keeping to badmouth Hong Kong. That's no way. I can understand Hong Kong is an international city. It's always been an international city. We're open. Still, after the security law was passed, people were saying, oh, this is the death of Hong Kong. This is the end of Hong Kong. Well, I haven't seen so much change in Hong Kong. I've actually seen it for the better.
People say give it a bit of time. But I want to ask you this. It's, China now has passed a national security law for Hong Kong. LegCo members have been disqualified. 4 young kids were arrested for sharing something on the internet and then arrested under the national security law. The elections have been cancelled. Does that send you the signal that China really no longer cares about global opinion?
I think at this moment, the way we look at what's happened with China, and they've gotten berated by so many different countries because of this extradition law and whatever, I think that this is a time that China really wants to say, listen, Hong Kong is part of China. The one country, two systems post-97, it was a good idea when Deng Xiaoping put it into play and came up with it. I think it needed some work, because I don't think it was too much freedom, and I don't mean in a negative way. I think you told me last time that one country, two systems really is failing now, right? I think it's a good idea, and it works well with Hong Kong within the framework of China, but I think it needed some adjustment. And that's exactly what's happening right now, because we can see we went off the road the last number of years. We saw last year with the violence and the protests for 8 months solid. what city can do it. Look at what the U.S. is going through right now. You've got 6 different cities going through protests, much, much worse than Hong Kong, but yet I remember how they were saying how bad the protests were in Hong Kong and how bad the police were, and we heard, I've been on this program before talking about that, and you can see how they have, what they have is much worse than what's going on in Hong Kong.
I want to pick up on, you said one country, 2 systems needed to be
well, it needed to be adjusted. Yeah.
Are you saying that the national security law adjusted it?
I think that the fact that we didn't pass Article 23 for 23 years, out of 200 countries in the world, 120 countries have a security law. What is wrong with Hong Kong? Man needs to live within a law. We're not animals. We need to have laws in order to set the goals for people to obey.
But don't you think there are other areas of one country, 2 system that also needs adjusting, like perhaps a political system that's causing the gridlock
That would
now?
come. Listen, within our basic law, we have the right for universal suffrage. In 2015, what happened? We tried to get it through. Yes, a conditional universal suffrage, but what happened? It was voted down by the Pan-Democrats. It was a baby step forward. We could have, it would have been a totally different world today if they would have not voted it down and given everybody a chance to vote. I want everybody to vote, but for that to happen, we have to have the trust of Hong Kong, of the leaders in Hong Kong.
I've got to have a quick break. See you soon, don't go away. Thanks for staying with us. This is Straight Talk. With me is Alan Zeman. Now, Alan, before the break, you said that had they passed this proposal to elect the chief executive in 2015, it was a baby step forward.
Yes.
The Democrats voted it down because they said that the candidate had to be screened by a nomination committee, right?
Right.
Now, given today's situation, with the national security law and the central government has actually sent their own police to exercise some enforce some of these national security laws and so on, and candidates have been disqualified. Do you see any hope coming back that they will bring back a proposal to elect the chief executive?
Michael, I have a lot of hope for Hong Kong. I see a lot of progress now. Because after 97, China was hands-off because one country, 2 systems, you know, Hong Kong people were really helping China to modernize and many Hong Kong people opened factories in China. And that was, you know, and so everybody looked upon Hong Kong, the mainlanders looked upon Hong Kong as the ultimate place that they wanted to either emigrate to or be visiting. What happened is after 97, we saw things were starting to derail because too much freedom. There was, you know...
Too much freedom?
Because when I say too much freedom, I mean, to quantify that, it's one country, 2 systems. China, in China's mind, one country comes first, and then you have the 2 systems, which is a different system than what exists in China. Hong Kong people, many Hong Kong people, we saw from the protests last year for 8 months, many Hong Kong people said, no, 2 systems comes first. I'm not Chinese. They were confused. I don't respect China. I don't want to be Chinese. Many people went through that. And then we had the violence and all the other things that were broadcast around the world. That was a terrible message that was being shown around the world. Terrible, terrible.
But
so as far as I'm
reason
concerned,
for that,
but
right?
I understand. But
I mean, why do people say they don't want to be Chinese?
Because one country, people need to understand that one country should come first. What's happening now, since the security law has been put into place, since we didn't pass Article 23, then China now, we can see in the 23 years, China was starting to lose confidence in Hong Kong. That's why they passed the security law. And so now we can see that the confidence will be starting to get built back up again. And we need China to trust Hong Kong. It'd be better for Hong Kong.
Ellen, but 4 young kids, aged 15 to 20 or whatever,
21,
being arrested, 21, being arrested, how could they possibly pose a security threat to China?
Listen, implemented a security law. What they did, and again,
there's something online
I don't want to say that they broke the law, whatever, because it's you're guilty when you're proven in a court of law. They have not been tried, and so you have to respect the law. Security law was put in. Why are you testing the law? Why are you going to go online and trying to talk about independence again and try to sign up people for an independence? This is against, when you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. And that's everywhere in the world. And you try that in any country. It doesn't work, Michael. So, yes, I agree, they're young and inexperienced, and they shouldn't be doing this.
And they could be facing life in prison.
Listen, they have not been tried yet, and so we have to wait to see what a judge feels.
You say play with fire. Let's have a look at another bite.
If they are threatening sanctions against Hong Kong, then we will rebut.
Now, Carrie Lam again, and she's saying that because there have been threats of sanctions by the U.S. government. In that interview, actually with TVB, she said that she probably is high on the list of
not being able to go to,
but she
and not
says
having a bank account and all that.
Right. She says, but if they do take action against Hong Kong, she can rebut. In what way, Alan? You're a businessman. How do you rebut America?
It's not that easy. I mean, again, with China in the back of you, helping to rebut. I mean, there's many different ways. Listen, everyone wants to get into China. They want that consumer market, that 1.4 billion people consumer market. That's why people from all over the world have offices in China.
But there's now decoupling going on.
You're decoupling, yes. But as a businessman, I can tell you, and I was in that business for 35 years, 40 years maybe. I had 40 offices around the world, and every country had a different policy and was different. Some were very corrupt and whatever. But I can tell you, I was still doing business in those countries, of course, trying my best in order to export garments. That's the supply chain management. So the world will continue to come to Hong Kong, will continue to set up offices in Hong Kong. Yes, some companies might leave, some companies might decide, they're going to leave, they're going to Singapore. Did you look at the laws in Singapore? They're a lot more strict than Hong Kong.
Well, yeah, they are, but now, you yourself, you're now a Chinese national, right?
Correct.
You're giving up your Canadian passport, and you support the national security law. Oh, you're not in government.
No.
But
well, I'm an advisor, economic advisor for Carrie.
Are you worried that you could also be sanctioned?
If I would be, then I'll live with it. I doubt it, because
you have business in America.
I'm a businessman.
As well, right?
Yeah, I've got businesses, but I doubt it. I'm not a priority for them. But if I continue to speak out, I might be. But I don't worry about that, Michael. I do what I think is the right thing for the people of Hong Kong, for Hong Kong itself. I've been here for 50 years. I love Hong Kong, and I'll continue to speak out if I have to. Listen, the Pan-Democrats, many of them are my friends. They see things differently. But as I say, if we did things with a respect for the laws, if we didn't break or try to wave a red flag in front of a bull, of course the bull is going to charge.
Is the Cold War coming?
The Cold War might already be here, but I think this is because the President of the United States, he's got a Cold War with everyone in the world at the moment. Every country you speak to does not see it in high regard. The U.S. brand, which everybody wanted to keep up here, has suddenly diminished quickly. Now, China's coming on, not in a negative way, but because of this president that they have in the United States, that they've never had somebody like that in the past. We're going to see what happens. There's an election coming up in November.
He's fighting back because China says the whole of the South China Sea belongs to us.
It's
and
not,
other
it's
things
not
like
only
that.
That's just one of the things. That's just one of the things. I mean, the show's not long enough to have a whole list of what has gone on. Listen, I've got a lot of friends in the United States, and even the people that supported him originally are having problems at the moment.
Well, I guess
the world, I mean, whether it's Germany, whether it's other countries, I mean, they look upon what's happened. He's dismantled everything from WHO to WTO, you name it, every organization.
Now, I've just got a few minutes left. The other thing I want to talk about is the outbreak and the closure of bars and restaurants and so on. You're in the business, you know, you're Lan Kwai Fong Holdings. Correct. Last Wednesday was heartbreaking. You saw manual workers, blue-collar workers, eating
sitting in the
toilets,
street.
sitting in the streets, in the rain. I mean, what kind of policy making is that?
I think the problem was that the government, of course, this is the virus that we have is unprecedented. And of course, the government is listening to three or four different experts, so-called experts, that are not really business people, not understanding that Hong Kong, people living in miniature flats, subdivided flats, they need to, 26% of the population eat every day. Eat every day. I agree with you, it was embarrassing. And at that time, I reached out as well to the government really to say that restaurants at least are regulated. You have the FEHD that comes around. We're better off to let the restaurants open so people can eat, so people can at least be regulated under, with restaurants, everyone wears a mask, the temperature's checked, we have 1.5 meters spacing.
But this is going to continue for I don't know how long, that the restaurants can open up to 6 o'clock. Bars and others will still be closed.
I'm hoping that because, as I say, it's regulated and there's inspectors going around. They can't come into your home, the inspectors, and so you can do what you want. You can have parties in your home, which is wrong. And I really think eventually we're going to have to open up with supervision of the FEHD.
You mean open up the bars as well and everything?
Well, at some point, bars will have to, otherwise economically you're going to die totally between killing people through health and economically. There won't be anything left. So we have to find a way. Hopefully, I hope we have a vaccine that can...
Well, that's probably the end of the year, but in the meantime, do you support just opening up the restaurants, not closing them at 6, and opening up all the bars?
I think at some point, you might have to open up restaurants in the evening as well, still keeping maybe 2 people or 4 people to a table. You can't do it the way we did after the second outbreak when you had
I've got 1 minute. Do you see a lot of bars and restaurants closing at the end of this?
If it continues, depends how long this goes. They can't survive with the rents they have to pay and the salaries they have to pay.
Can your business survive?
It'll be tough. It depends how long it goes. I mean, that's why the subsidies from the government have been a godsend for everyone. And they can only give so much. After a while, subsidies won't be there. And so that's why I'm very pleased that China has now sent 60 people, or sending 60 people to try to help Hong Kong with the virus, because the faster we can get down to where we were before, the faster we can go back to having a normal life in Hong Kong.
All right, okay, I've got to end the show. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Good evening.